Welcome to Diaries of a Data Scientist, our podcast in which we share about what's important to break into data science, provide valuable insights also for senior data scientists, and invite interesting guests from different data science areas. We're Yasmin and Kate, we're both data scientists and mentors working in industry, and we are sharing here our thoughts and experiences. Let's go!
Welcome back, everyone, to the newest episode of Diaries of a Data Scientist. This is episode number 19 already. Right now, we are at the end of summer in 2024, so more than halfway across the year. And we have picked today a very exciting topic for you, which is we're going to take a look together at the status of generative AI, capture the biggest milestones and relevant milestones this year, and give you kind of the recap. So if you also during summer break try to disconnect a little bit from all things going on in AI, because it can be a lot, this is now your perfect summary to get back into the game again and catch up.
Yeah, guys, definitely. It was a while, so it was already 7 to perhaps 8 months. And it's been happening a lot in the field of Gen AI. So I would propose to start immediately with the most breaking part of this year.
Yeah, okay, let's jump in. Okay, yes. So we have a lot of points, so we're gonna just take them one by one and cover them together with you. So the first point that we wanted to bring up is how generative AI is nowadays seen in the business. Kate, would you like to start commenting on this?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say that the first point is that we perhaps from the business side can't have better and maybe like more realistic expectations, because what is happening right now is that when Gen AI was firstly introduced, was in 2022, right? We back before that era, we still had a lot of people from business side that were not kind of included into this data science industry. It was somewhere like far away from the people, especially from the kind of business side. And they still at that time thought of any machine learning or artificial intelligence models as if it is not sort of mathematics based or statistics based, but more towards, oh, this is magic. Let's do something in there. This is what I've heard a lot. And from 2022, I can see this kind of really smooth pattern when people getting more educated, they got much more interested, because right now it actually touches like them personally, because they're using ChatGPT for like personal usages, asking different personal questions as well. And right now in the business, I can definitely see that people better understand what that is about, better understand about the possibilities and opportunities, and also about drawbacks. And with that, we also do have right now, right, a lot of sort of data science courses for the business side. But I guess it's also a little bit, controversial, because from one side, we can definitely say that, oh yeah, we have maybe we kind of managed to bring a lot of people to the data science side, but still we do have a lot of expectations on the very final part as the delivery and production and how people are going to work with this.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think the biggest difference is to the year of 2022. Nowadays, if you ask any person, all of them have an opinion about AI. So everyone is, if they want
included.
Or not, exactly, included, and is thinking about the topic, which I think is amazing. But again, like this doesn't mean that everyone is fully on board with it and is like welcoming it with open arms. But we also obviously have people who have concerns, also valid concerns, or just in general are more skeptic towards the whole topic of artificial intelligence. And I think definitely the level of education around the topic has risen, which is amazing. I think there's still a long way to go. But I also still see, right, that from a business standpoint, last year it was all about bringing out pilots doing POCs on the topic of generative AI, starting fast, getting these cloud resources and so on. And this year, it's a lot also, especially from managerial side, like how have you delivered the value? So where can I see it? And sometimes it's just not as fast. So I see that there's still a lot of expectations now, even more than last year, because last year was all about trying out. And now expectations and the perspective has been shifted more towards delivery and operations around generative AI, which is definitely a hard topic. So it's very hard to get out of this pilot stage and get into the scaling. Definitely. So we have to be really careful with that. And, from an organization standpoint, I think we have to be a little bit more patient until we see major breakthroughs there.
And also maybe also to add, one of the pain points that I've seen so far, honestly, in pretty much recently in business discussions with the business guys, is that because companies right now are trying out and building their own copilots, and that is why it creates a bubble for people that they don't really know which kind of copilots is better to use for which kind of tasks. And this creates a little bit of them being overwhelmed, confused, and even perhaps in the end, they just stop using anything what the data departments have been created. And that's also a pretty big problem. And I very much love, Yasmin, what you said recently, that it's not the responsibility of the end users to understand where to go to dig deeper into details and understand for themselves.
This is just unfair to shift the responsibility on the user side here and expect them to know everything and keep, yes, of course, they need to keep themselves to some level updated, but we need to help them as best as we can. And we need to especially make that landscape of applications and solutions as clear as possible. And that do see two major options in general for organizations, right? So I think there has been also quite some discussions on maybe building like the bot of bots, in that sense of having this platform approach. So you only have one chatbot to go to, and the chatbot is deciding for
That's
you
a pretty nice
which
approach.
meta solution it is using. The other route obviously would be to consolidate the landscape as much as possible. Some of that might happen just organically because resources are always limited, right? So you try to put the resources where they are most valuable. So not all of the pilots will survive in that sense. So these two major approaches I could see. And but overall, I think what we've seen is that Gen AI techniques have been quite welcomed in many, many different industries. So just for examples, healthcare has surprisingly also adapted quite fast to it. I mean, on the other hand, not surprising, the entertainment industries with all of the nice capabilities around media formats, images, video, audio, has been taking it up super fast. And at the same time, right, I think also the entertainment industry is one of the industries which has definitely been affected the most of generative AI. But we're going to see an example later, I think actually in the next aspect, which are coming to multi-model models in AI. I also heard the word cross-model, which I also like because it's just a little bit clearer also that hereby we mean generative AI models which can work across different media types. So they combine not just one kind of domain like text, but cross input, cross input, cross output, combining text, image, audio, video, and so on. And one of the, I think, the brightest examples for this is GPT-4o, where O stands for omni, meaning everything. And it came out in May 2024. And, it was all across LinkedIn, for example. So everyone has been somewhat waiting for that. And it nowadays combines text, audio, image, and video. So you could do basically any kind of things with it.
Do you have anything?
One thing that I saw, I think, was even from the OpenAI publication when they announced it. And this is actually something that we do as software engineers quite often, right? You sit together with a user interaction designer or a UI designer, and they give you this kind of wireframe, this mock-up of an application, and it's like a little note, just painted by hand, and then you are as a developer, you're supposed to take that and implement it. As a front-end developer, for example, right? And basically, you could do the same now with GPT-4o. You can input that sketch of a application, and basically ask it to write the code for the front end looking like that. And if you want even, I don't know, to write a user documentation or anything on that. So that is pretty cool.
I just got a new sort of idea that the next episode should be about what is the future of data science given these trends.
Software engineering and data science definitely are also changing. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
And another model is a little bit less cross, but I would still consider it a multi-model model. It's also 𝗲𝗲𝗶𝘀𝗶𝘃𝗲 from OpenAI, which is this video generation model. So you input text and you get a high quality short video clip out of it. And I was super fascinated to see this, honestly, because I always wanted to be a good videographer, but I'm just not. I think you just have to accept some people have that gift. I'm not one of these persons, so now I can still create super nice video clips using 𝗲𝗲, and I really recognized the impact of that when I was watching the Olympics this year.
Yes,
I've been watching a lot of Olympics this year, and I loved it. And there was this reappearing advertisement from a financial service a company. I think it's called eToro. And they basically had this 30-second clip of advertisement, and you could clearly see it was almost fully AI generated. I read up a bit on this topic. So yes, they confirmed. So they almost fully generated their advertisement with AI. So all the images, all the video, the audio was fully AI generated. And that way they were also able to basically air it out in 45 different languages. Across countries, right?
That is insane.
I mean, just imagine the production cost for something like that before AI generation.
Of course. And honestly, shame on me. I didn't watch Olympic Games so far. So that's definitely is going to be really teasing from your part to go ahead right after we record this episode and go ahead and check it out.
No worries. Paralympics are coming, so we're not yet done with the major sports event this year. But definitely, I can. I don't want to make any advertisement here for that company, obviously. But if you're interested, you can check out the clip just for the sake of seeing how the technology looks like in a real world clip that probably
that's amazing. Yeah.
Millions of people have seen during watching the Olympics.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. But let's go back to the technical parts of the developments in 2024 about the Gen AI field, and also the new, I guess, big kind of trend. We started with the large language models, and this is how we kind of scratched the surface in 2024 and created this huge new era. And right now, this is the time for the small language models. That stands for short, like SLMs. And pretty much, what is that about? So they have less parameters as the input data. So, and like we still are not talking about in here, like about 30 parameters maybe that you would use in any kind of regression models. It's still some millions perhaps of parameters, but this is not up to 1 trillion as, for example, OpenAI using in the their latest model. So we're still talking about the millions, but not as much as we do have in ChatGPT or BERT models. And why this is really important for the SLMs models is because they have pretty nice key features. So pretty much, for example, imagine that you're a startup and you want to do something based on the Gen AI models, and the costs are pretty high because of the number of the parameters that they are using. And you have to deploy that, you have to adopt it, you have to somehow put it into the clouds in order to process with these models, right? And this is nice and sweet key feature of the small language models, because they are more efficient time-wise, and also that brings us to the very cost-effective approaches. For example, we found a pretty interesting model that is called Mixtral, and that was published in December 2023, that has 8 neural networks inside, and each with 7 billion parameters. And pretty much what they found with this model is that it outperforms the 70 billion parameter variant of Llama 2. And also it either outperforms or performs on the same level with the OpenAI GPT 3.5 model. which is, I guess, really also awesome.
This is really amazing because I was really waiting for that. When when it was early 2023 and we saw how well ChatGPT was basically getting into the mind of everyone, and then the other big players frantically trying to put out their own research and models, and you just saw this trend getting bigger and bigger and bigger models.
Yes.
I was already at that time thinking that is maybe not the way to go. So this just felt like what we had in neural architecture search as well, where it was just, about who has the biggest computational resources, was performing the best. Yeah. And then you saw this anti-trend developing, where it was about finding more efficient ways of search algorithms and differentiable algorithms to neural architecture search, which basically gave an end to this bigger is always better trend. Yes. And I was so hoping for this also in the large language model world, because as you said, there's so many benefits, and it just makes everything more accessible. Also, honestly, to the open source community who does not have comparable computation resources, possibly as like a Google or like an Amazon and so on. Yes. And on the same way, I was saying, okay, we need again come back to smaller models and also to more kind of data moderation in that sense. Instead of just, packing the full data in, I was already expecting that there's more and more also approaches towards inputting higher data quality in order to also get a higher output quality.
Yeah, and I guess, but we're going to talk about this later, but we sort of need to have a penalty, as we usually have in any kind of machine learning models, right? Algorithms. We also do
basically
have a lot of
regularization, right?
Yeah, sort of. And not only kind of this part, but for example, imagine that you have 3 different models, and you are building those models based on different parameter set, and some of them is really, really complex, which will pretty much be tagged as a black box, and you have no idea what is happening in there. And that is why we do have some measurements to see, okay, if that is going to be considered as the black box, and not even business people, but also not really data scientists will really understand what is happening in there. Probably this is not a really nice way to go, and we have to shift to the white box model, sort of, in the sense that we do really understand what the input data is required and how everything is happening in the side of learning curve process.
So I fully agree with you. I'm just not sure how. If we ever get there with generative AI, probably we will, maybe also faster than I would imagine. But right now, I think it's still this very, very black box algorithm. No matter if you have billions or trillion parameters, honestly, in my point of view, it doesn't matter. And I think you just have to build, configurations around it to try to make it more explainable. But as long as we use this type of transformer models, I'm not sure if we ever reach a full transparent white box model. But I fully agree that this would be ideal to get there. Yeah.
Yes.
And on the same time, I was just thinking, my non-IT colleagues will now hate me for introducing abbreviation to them. So now they had to learn LLMs, and now there's SLMs, and I can already see them telling me, Yasmin, you're crazy, go away with your abbreviations.
Stop it.
Yeah. And we already covered a little bit of the GPU topic and the computational resources which are necessary. And I think, what we've really seen this year again is there's really scarcity on the market. The prices were skyrocketing, and basically that the biggest majority of the whole worldwide computation is being done by the major couple of cloud providers where there's basically not many. And just thinking about this from a little bit more international perspective, I think overall, yes, we have distributed computational centers and so on, but seeing that it's 2 or 3 main providers who do the bulk of the computations, you do have this massive, I would say, cluster risk that if anything happens to these providers, that a lot of organizations basically, will have a major problem. And I mean, not really related to the AI topic, but we've seen what the that update that was provided through Microsoft from this one provider did to the worldwide infrastructure.
Yes, and it happened quite a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yes, was quite recent, definitely. So
Yes.
I do foresee the GPU shortage to continue for a while, definitely. If you had bought some Nvidia shares a while ago, like, well done to you. But definitely, so I do hope that at some point we will have more democratization towards like accessible GPU resources again.
Yeah, and also I would kind of believe that in the future we would have maybe prices decreased for the clouds, subscriptions in this sense. Because if we're talking about the companies that would love to use or to create products that are based on Gen AI, it would again cost sort of a fortune in order to do so. And I guess like with the trend that we really want to make it inclusive for as many people or as many businesses as possible, that probably we will see different business models based on this kind of preferences.
Yeah, I mean, the one upwards thing about this is with any new model being dropped, usually the older models are getting a discount on the prices, right? So nowadays, for example, if you want to access GPT-3.5 Turbo per token, the prices are really, really, really accessible compared to the latest models like GPT-4o.
Yeah, that is true.
All right. What else?
What else do we have on the plate today? So the next kind of 2024 is personalized / customized local models and data pipelines. And I guess we've covered this topic already in the very beginning, saying that this is happening in the industry, and what we can see is that companies are developing their own copilots and chatbots that are based on the Gen AI, and pretty much the ability of the Gen AI to tune the model based on your data, or to use and create embeddings in order to again the model learn based on your data. To give it the better output.
It's not just organization, honestly, but also in your private life. I mean, you could go, for example, to OpenAI and build your own GPT, right? So there's this custom GPTs, and I've been doing that in the past, and it's incredibly easy to do it. So this whole topic of like customizing, fine-tuning a solution like this to your own needs has been really, really, really getting a lot easier. So compared to where we were early 2023.
Yes, and also I just want to mention that a lot of fields like legal, medical, financial sectors, they are creating their chatbots. And I remember our page on BSF, how many customized local copilots we do have created for a variety of fields within BSF, and that's really, really amazing. So what else do we have on the business side?
I mean, on the business side, as mentioned, with this whole MyGPTs topic, this is just, again, connecting back to the discussion we had at the beginning of many different solutions being built, many different chatbots. So again, here, I do fear that at some point we have like too much of a too confusing landscape. With the GPT topic, I have to say I'm not seeing it as strongly as with like other kind of self-developed applications. But what I can also really, really say is the whole topic of augmented and virtual reality in combination with generative AI has gotten a little bit of a resurvival or resurrection, I have to say. I mean, for people who are working in augmented reality, they might now say, what are you talking about? It was always like, on the first priority, but I didn't feel that this was the reality in the organizations. I feel that the topic of AR and VR had kind of a peak, I don't know, maybe 5 to 6 years back. There was a lot on this topic, and now I think with generative AI and having that combination accessible of, you could have a metaverse with natural language capabilities right embedded. So basically you're taking, for example, kind of avatars to the next level, and you can design the audio, and you can design, compose music around that. I think this getting another upwards lift.
Yes, yeah.
Definitely. And I mean, that is also seen in the amount of virtual agents being put out.
Definitely. With the virtual agents, I guess it's also pretty interesting because we've covered, guys, for a little bit of the statistics. I guess this is not a surprise for any of the person that right now all interactions, let's say the first interactions with the companies when you are on the websites, and you will always have kind of a window pop up. Those are based on the, again, Gen AI models in order to talk with you and process your kind of customer requests. And just a little bit of the statistics on this topic. According to the report in 2022, 80% of customer service interactions were managed by AI-driven chatbots, and up from 35% in 2019. I guess that's really speaking of the topic that we're talking today. And also pretty interesting, it's given from the chatbot.org report in 2023, is that chatbots achieved a user engagement up to 70%, which I guess is pretty awesome.
Exactly. There's a very, honestly, the most simple explanation for that. Now they work. So I mean, we had chatbots kind of already 7-8 years ago. A lot of them being more rule-based and way more, say, purely statistics, linguistics driven.
Yes.
And really seeing clear limitation, especially towards the user flow and like to the conversation flow, and
you would
how adaptable they are and how much context driven they are, basically like very, very limited. And this is the strong suit of generative AI. And now that they're working, I feel people feel also way more inclined to use them. And let's end it there, because I definitely can see we could talk forever about different virtual agents.
Yeah. And also, I guess one of the interesting parts was that right now we can see more and more on the ethical side. So this is a new bubble that is happening in the data science field. Yasmin, so what is happening in there? I'm sure that you have much more information about this part.
Yeah, so it's on one hand, it's a very, very common question also that we receive from the organization, which I think is a very, very good sign that people are thinking about how is AI being regulated, where do I personally also have to be careful of, and so on. But definitely, I mean, the years of 2023 and 2024 have been all around also, especially in the EU, about the EU AI Act and putting out this very, very first major legislation around artificial intelligence. And basically, only a couple of days back, on 1st of August this year, the EU AI Act basically came into force, which means it's now being active. So it has been developed, or has been in the making for the past couple of years. End of 2023, there was then this provisional agreement basically stating, okay, from a content side, this was more or less than done, and now it has come into force. And what this means is that it's now real. So there are real also penalties behind it if you fail as an organization to implement, at least for anyone using EU citizens' data, right? So this is a EU topic, but what we also see is that many other countries are basically seeing that as a role model, or taking that as a basis. Or basically just say we also adapt a similar agreement. So I think definitely you can say it's somewhat kind of the example that you could take to talk about ethical and regulation about AI right now. And what it, for example, does, it differentiates different risk levels of applications. So, for example, there's low risk AI applications, and then there's a set of regulations and rules that you have to comply with. And then there's, for example, high risk applications, where again there's like obviously an even bigger set of rules that you have to comply with, and then there's even a set of applications which are just forbidden because they are, say, so severe, or the risks are so severe that the EU is saying we don't want to have that running at all. And for example, it prohibits any kind of, say, biometric categorization systems where you could say, okay, based on how Kate is looking or based on Yasmin is looking, one of them gets the job and one not, right? So this would be one example for an application which is just prohibited by use by the EU AI Act. And if you take a look at, for example, the high-risk applications, this also then means that if you still want to deploy those, also the developers of that applications, they have to be able to show how they are working. And that is definitely a big challenge, because what we heard earlier, especially with generative AI, these are not white box approaches. So it's very, very hard to document how exactly in the, say, fine-grained details they make decisions, or they come, say, to an output that could lead to the human making a decision.
Yes.
And on the other side, what this also means is that any employee in an organization which is touching that application, let it be the one who's developing it, so the developers, but also the end users, need to be trained for high-risk applications. Basically, how they're using it, what this means.
Provide education sort of for the end users.
So basically that means now organizations who want to deploy these kind of high-risk applications need to train on a broad scale users who are, touching that applications. Yeah, definitely it's a challenge. And here again, you need to think about where to make the cut between individual users' responsibility and basically what responsibility are you as an organization taking up so the user doesn't have to. But I think I would be interested to basically do a deep dive with a legal expert at some point on this topic, because I definitely think it's going to be relevant for many organizations. And it's just an interesting topic. And I think you shouldn't see it as too dark. So it's not like they just now forbid everything. It's a kind of differentiated steering approach, and that they have this risk level and so on. And then just being really careful in implementing those.
Yeah, and I guess it's also, pretty interesting that to see kind of how the data science field has been developed throughout this several years, right? Because again, before 2022, I didn't really hear a lot about data science ethics or machine learning ethics. So there were like topics popping up like here and there, but it was not really...
It was like a niche topic.
Sort of, yes.
Sure.
It was like kind of underground thing. So, but it was never kind of viewed as a publicly official topic to talk about. And I just like saw in different, interesting movies, people are discussing the ethical point of view of the machine learning, and also discussing the kind of the algorithms that failed in the end and people got fired, or like etc. But right now, seeing that in 2024, we have this thread of the legal side of implementing any kind of Gen AI or AI in the organization. It's I guess it's a pretty nice way to go. This is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. And as mentioned, so in general, I think that the topic or the relevance of increasing the data and AI literacy in organizations has surged as well. So this is now in 2024, I would say, like a renewed trend again. It has been around, but organizations just again see the relevance of really having also a structured approach towards that, not just see it as a only voluntary offer that you could take or not take, and everything each in their own time,
optional.
Right? But if you basically like look at major applications like the whole a suite of different copilots that Microsoft is putting out, and there's, I think, around 60 different copilots or so around. One of them being this Microsoft 365 copilot, which is there for the major office applications. If as an organization you would like to introduce that on a broad scale, and you would really need to check what does this mean also with the EU AI Act, and what are the rules that you then have to maybe comply with, what side of responsibility goes towards the vendor, being Microsoft, what side goes to you as the implementation organization, right? And what does this also mean for training people?
Yes, definitely. And I guess this part is also goes hand to hand with the sort of shadow AI and AI policies that we do have in the companies. And for the main idea of this of this trend. This is, by the way, guys, this is the number 8 already trend that we're discussing today. I hope you're still on track with us.
You're still with us, yes.
Yes. So about the AI policies is that we need to understand how, like, what are the people are using any Gen AI tools for their kind of working purposes, so beneficial, and in case if they are using, how we have to educate them in order to be on the safe side with the questions, with the data we are sharing with these kind of tools, and etc. Because Yasmin, you found a really nice study that from, I guess, Ernst and Young, right? That 90% of respondents said that they are using artificial intelligence at work, and definitely we have to have, kind of rules or a set of regulations or recommendations for people in order to be on the safe side again with these kind of tools.
Yeah, and I hope obviously that every one of that respondents to that survey also meant that they are using the AI tools that are compliant with the company.
Which I'm not sure.
I doubt it. that might be the reality. But
Yes.
that is exactly the topic of, say, this shadow AI, right? So I think in general, it is great that people are welcoming the topic and that they are motivated and they want to use it because they see the benefits to them. That is really the thing that where you want to actually go to. You want to show them what is in it for each and every employee. So they see the benefits and they are intrinsically motivated to use them.
Yes. Yes.
That is where you want to be, right? But obviously, as an organization, you have this huge interest in also being compliant and also making sure that none of your very valuable internal and confidential and maybe even strictly confidential information is leaving your organization's realm, right? And that can happen quite quickly if employees are not educated. What does it actually mean if I'm using this nice external tool and service, but I'm inputting my company's data, right? And that's why you really
or
have
personal identifiable data as well.
Exactly. And that's why definitely as an organization, you should have this huge interest in educating your employees around the topic. And it's also not the right solution to just say everything is forbidden, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you have to make sure that you providing accessibility to these kind of tools in a compliant way. And obviously, this might take a little bit longer than just using any already publicly tools available, which are not vetted by the company, right? But I think you should really invest that little bit of longer time to make sure that you're compliant. And in any way, always carefully read the terms of use. So I'm also doing that as a private user. I'm like, maybe I haven't done it with every software in my life, but with the topic of generative AI, I've been treating the topic very, very seriously and just reading through the whole terms of use. And if I have the feeling I don't understand them, I copy-paste them into a chatbot and I ask the chatbot to help me with making this a little bit more understandable. So I really feel comfortable with what application am I using here. And what I can also say is, please, in your company, in your organization, check the IT security matrix. So usually companies have that. They say, for this application, you're allowed to use that level of classification of data. For this application, you should only use maybe, I don't know, up to internal information, right? And I know it's not the most sexy of topics. I know this will, take a little bit of dedication to really just do it.
Sounds boring, right?
Yes, it sounds boring, but I promise the risks are very, very real. And then it gets very, very fast, not so boring.
Yes.
If you have to deal with such a topic of data leakage, of introducing misinformation into companies. So really treat this topic seriously. And I mean, that's why we also have this whole setup around workers' councils, and many organizations we nowadays also have like AI ethics councils, roundtables, and so on. So we should always bring different experts together from cybersecurity, from legal, from the AI guys, obviously, from the business, right? And try to find like a consensus around this topic, which is more balanced.
Definitely. This is the second time for today that I want to say this phrase. And this phrase, this is something that we've already tried, to let people know about this concept, is that right now in 2024, it is really important to not only have really nice data foundations, but also it is really important to have very nice AI enablement strategy. Because as you said, if you're just going to use these tools without really knowing the risks and not a lot of people really have the time to digest this kind of information. Who else is going to educate people and introduce this potential and also kind of risk away parts, if not the AI enablement departments and teams in the companies?
Yeah, so hopefully you have that in your organization. If not, maybe again,
You're the
maybe
one
this
who
is a
needs to
nice
sort it.
niche of heading into. And again, it's not a solution to just say, okay, then like this sounds complicated, then we're just not doing anything, right? And
Yes, of course.
basically take a step back, or on the other hand, say we're just putting our whole trust into a single vendor. I honestly also wouldn't do that, because then you really also have you don't have a lot of control over, if you don't have at least some internal experts who help you to also digest and negotiate certain things and understand what are the implications. So definitely,
Yes.
I think it should be a balanced approach of, yes, you can and you should rely for certain things on external applications because they're readily available, they're good. Maybe it's not like your USP, right? But you should definitely also think about building up your own data science capabilities.
Yes, and I guess this is really a nice rule that you're talking about, this diversity, right? You have this diversification rule in pretty much every single part of your life. So this is it is as well.
Absolutely.
Yes, so the next trend that we also can definitely talk about today, which is called explainable AI. We're trying to make our models and algorithms as a white box instead of the black box. And I guess you already said and mentioned that it's also about the developers that need to explain how our models work and keep detailed records of the performance and how we achieve this or these kind of accuracies and results of the models.
Yes, exactly. So I think, both topics are living on their own, but you definitely see here the cross connection that basically explainable AI for these high risk applications is one of the prerequisites. And I think it's good that there was at least some more research being done in the last years on this topic as well. And I think through the EU AI Act, again, this gets kind of this external motivation also, and maybe also founding money to invest more into research into this area. We had a lot of different aspects covered today, and I can just again say, right, there's so much going on. Every day there's new papers being put out, new models are popping up, and it can be quite easy to then feel overwhelmed and having the feeling that, you have to spend basically 2 hours each day just to keep updated. And I think for some people this might be a job requisite, and then you have to invest that time. But I think for the normal user of AI, this might not be necessary. So I think if you already captured these big milestones this year, I think you've already, been well on track. And for everyone who was now, this like hopefully a great summary to catch up. And we will definitely also continue to help you in the future of spotting these major trends when they're happening. So don't feel like, you have to, to be always online on this topic just to not miss anything.
Just tune in, subscribe, hit the button, and then you will always be, reminded about the new updates that we do have in our field.
Absolutely.
Maybe just the final words from my side. Yasmin and I were going to definitely put into the posts also the models that have been developed in 2024, because it's a lot of them, and this perhaps can take another easily 20 minutes to discuss and talk about this kind of models. But maybe the most interesting ones, just to mention that we have right now, GitHub Copilot. And I hope everyone heard about this amazing platform and amazing tool, I guess especially for developers, and also the Microsoft 365 Copilot for the business side. And also, which was really interesting for me, that right now on Udemy, we also do have quite a lot of courses, the master classes and workshops about the Microsoft 365 Copilot and how it's better to use it for your own personal needs. So very much thank you for today. And I really hope so that all of those trends helped you a lot to understand the current state of the Gen AI field and pretty much to also maybe a little bit understand how it is going to be developed in the nearest future. So as I said, stay tuned and see you in 3 weeks. Bye-bye.
Until next time, bye-bye.
This was Diaries of a Data Scientist by Yasmin and Kate. And if you enjoyed the episode, remember to check out our YouTube channel and our LinkedIn pages for more engaging content from the data science world. Thank you for today, and seeing you in the comments.